Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix movie review. So this is a review of the movie. I've already reviewed the book previously. If you want to see my review of the book, I'll link to that down below. But yeah, this is my review of the movie. So these Harry Potter movies have a lot of work to do, don't they? I certainly would not want to be in charge of adapting these books for the movies. And that's particularly true with Order of the Phoenix, because this was like the big book. So you really had to cut it down to its bare bones to make it into a movie. You also have to take care not to offend any of the fans, because there's a whole bunch of purist fans who don't want any deviation from the book. And you also have an increasing amount of characters as these books go on, which means like an increasing amount of actors you have to juggle and make sure everyone gets screen time. You can handle like a large cast like this in a book, but it's much more difficult to do in a movie. So I think it's very difficult to make a movie that kind of stands on its own as a movie. And I think the filmmakers do a great job, all things considering, although I'm not entirely sure these movies stand alone as a movie. Like whenever you watch the movie, you feel like you're just getting the cliff notes of a book. Like you feel like you're just getting a summary of what was once a larger and richer story, which in fact you are. So I guess that is kind of why it feels that way. I've always been curious, or I've suspected, that the reason these movies have been so popular is because of the books. Which is to say that if there was some sort of alternative universe in which these books didn't exist, and these movies were the only thing that, the only Harry Potter, I don't think people would like them. I think they'd be like, what is this? But, because everyone loves the books, as you're watching the movie, you're like, I remember that scene from the book. I remember that scene from the book. Like, they work great as kind of tributes to the book or reminding you of the book. I'm not entirely sure they stand up on their own as movies, but I quite enjoy watching them. My biggest criticism of the movies, though, and this isn't just true of this movie. I think this is true of all of the movies, although it was particularly true in this movie, is the action scenes are not really that great. And the action scenes are the one things that you really kind of hope that the movie will add to. I mean, you know that the movie's not going to give you much better characterization. Yeah, you know that the movie's not going to give you kind of much more plot details, right? If you want that kind of stuff, you go to the book. But if you come to a movie, you're looking for spectacle. You want to see like the razzle and dazzle and the awesome choreography and stuff like that. And instead, all the action sequences in these movies are just kind of people pointing their wands and yelling stuff. And there's not, I mean, I know that's what it is kind of in the book, but there's not a lot of suspense. There's not a lot of choreography. Like, they could have upped the adrenaline here with kind of some running, some jumping, some near misses, stuff like that. But the action scenes are just boring. And then there are some scenes from the books that don't translate well to the movie. For example, when Voldemort takes possession of Harry Potter, and Harry Potter has like this inner struggle to defeat him. I think this works in the book. Although that being said, actually, I don't remember reading that part in the book, but I probably just forgot. Was it in the book? Anyways, assuming it was in the book, I think it works in the book. But like, it doesn't really work so well as a movie because there's nothing really to show. It's all kind of going on inside Harry Potter's head as he's trying to get Voldemort out of his head. On the other hand, there was a scene in the book where they were battling these giant brains and one of the climactic battles at the end. And I thought, oh boy, that would look good on the movie. And that was one of the things they cut out of the movie. So maybe some questionable choices as to kind of what would kind of look exciting on screen. But all in all, these movies are doing a good job of dealing with very large books, staying faithful to the main part of these books, and bringing in a large audience and kind of keeping an increasingly large cast altogether. So, yeah, they're impressive.